Well, Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton shared this unsettling picture of the front door to the U.S. House of Representatives. You can see what appears to be multiple bullet marks in the shattered glass.
Representative Moulton, in fact, joins us live right now from Washington. Good morning, Congressman. Obviously, it's been a long night for you, and we want to just start with your thoughts on what happened yesterday inside the U.S. Capitol.
Good morning. Well, what we witnessed yesterday was an assault on the heart of democracy, but we turned it back and we showed that the mob will not rule. It took too long, but we eventually got back to work and we finished doing the people's work, certifying all of your votes for President and Vice President of the United States.
Congressman, what can you do now to figure out how this happened, how this mob was allowed to overtake the Capitol and do what they did? Those of us watching it all unfolded on TV it was just shocking to see how easy it seemed for them to overtake the U.S. Capitol. So what can you do now to look back and see how it happened and also figure out who was involved in all of this?
Well, let's be absolutely clear. There's one person who's fundamentally involved, and that's the President of the United States, because the President of the United States told his crowd of supporters at the White House to march to the Capitol, to be violent, and to attack the seat of government. He incited and inspired this mob, and he's also the same president who refused to call out the National Guard to protect us, to protect not just Congress, lawmakers, but to protect our democracy as the United States of America. So the lack of security is the president's fault. The assault itself is the president's fault. And that's why I'm calling on the president to be held accountable.
You have said you want him to be impeached and removed from office. He just committed today to an orderly transition of power. Is there going to be an appetite for removing him from office in these final 13 days?
Well, there should be, because it's the right thing to do. It's the honorable thing to do by the law. You know, if a CEO of a company is about to retire and steals $1 million on the last day, nobody says, oh, well, it was the last day, don't worry about it. You still hold that CEO accountable. And that's exactly what we need to do to uphold the laws of this country, a country that's founded on a principle that nobody is above the law. Whether you're an average citizen or the president of the United States, you need to follow the law in the United States of America. And we in Congress have a responsibility to make sure that that applies to the president just as it applies to everybody else.
Why wasn't the Capitol Police and law enforcement ready for this? The president had been talking about this, telling his supporters to do this. Why weren't they seemingly prepared?
Well, again, fundamentally, the mayor of Washington, D.C. called for the National Guard to be out and in place. I mean, the president had no problem calling out the National Guard in the face of peaceful Black Lives Matter protests this summer. But he refused to call out the Guard to hold back his supporters. So the blood's on the president's hands here. This is clearly the president's fault. But I do think from the perspective of a United States Marine looking at the security situation here yesterday at the Capitol, we also need to ask some questions of the Capitol Police, because they were understaffed, they were not supported. But still, there are videos of Capitol Police taking selfies with protesters, of them even opening the gates so certain protesters could get in. What a far cry from how we saw law enforcement handle peaceful protests this past summer. There's clearly going to have to be an investigation, and we're going to ask a lot of questions about what happened.
As a last question, Congressman, there's a new poll out this morning showing a plurality of Republicans in America supported these riots at the Capitol. 140 or so House Republicans voted yesterday to reject the electors and overthrow the election. How do we move forward as a country when it seems we're this far apart?
Well, look, obviously there needs to be healing, but people also need to be held accountable. And I think that's one of the lessons of the Watergate era, that you can't set a precedent that people can just get away with this, whether it be a mob of rioters at the Capitol or the lawmakers themselves who have supported and incited this violence. And I'm embarrassed to say that several of my Republican colleagues are in that group of people who supported and incited this violence outside the Capitol by what they were doing inside the Capitol to question the votes of the American people.
All right, Congressman Seth Moulton, we really appreciate you joining us live here on the phone to break this all down for us. We appreciate that, and stay safe today.
Okay, thank you.